The very foundation of our reality is fundamentally broken, and physicists are absolutely terrified to admit it. The physical laws that you and I trust every single day, they're hiding some incredibly terrifying mathematical gaps. Behind all those neat, predictable equations you see written on classroom chalkboards, there's actually a dark, unsettling void. We just kind of assume we understand how the universe works, right? We've built our entire civilization on that confidence. But the scary truth is, we're really only skimming the surface of a deep, chaotic ocean, basically pretending the ice won't break under our feet. Part 1. The flaw in the mundane, fluid turbulence. Let's start with something incredibly simple. Think about watching the cream swirl as you pour it into your morning coffee. This everyday swirling is called fluid turbulence, and it actually holds a really embarrassing secret. You see, classical physics relies on a set of rules called the Navier-Stokes equations, which were written nearly 200 years ago. Engineers use these exact same equations to design massive commercial jet engines, or even to map the flow of blood right through your heart. But mathematically speaking, we have absolutely no idea if these equations actually work all the time. Under certain conditions, the math just shatters. It produces what physicists call a singularity, which is basically a point where the numbers suddenly spike to infinity. And since infinity is impossible in the real physical world, it means our mathematical blueprint just totally gives up on us when we need it most. Just think about the sheer absurdity of our situation for a second. We can calculate the exact mathematical trajectory required to land a 1-ton nuclear-powered rover inside a specific crater on Mars, millions of miles away. Yet, we can't mathematically guarantee exactly how water will flow through a simple plastic pipe right in your kitchen wall. We are entirely blind to the hidden mechanics of water and air. The mathematical failure here is so profound that the Klein Mathematics Institute actually offers a standing $1 million prize to anyone who can solve it. They're offering this fortune because the current math completely exposes our illusion of control over the physical world. Part 2. Cracks in the cosmos, gravity, and the Big Bang. Now, let's move from the everyday world up to the cosmic scale. Think about taking a cheap refrigerator magnet to pick up a heavy iron nail. In that split second, a tiny piece of magnetized metal easily defeated the entire gravitational pull of planet Earth. Gravity is incredibly, unbelievably weak. It's weaker than electromagnetism by an almost incomprehensible margin, a factor of 10 to the 36th power. It's a bizarre anomaly, and it totally shatters the elegance of physics. String theory proposes a truly terrifying answer to this weakness, suggesting that gravity might not actually be weak at all. Instead, its true power might be bleeding out into hidden microscopic extra dimensions. It's kind of like a roaring river, where we only see a tiny trickle of water because all the rest is flowing through invisible underground caves that we can't even perceive. And this crack in our understanding extends all the way backward to the very birth of the cosmos. When we look at the oldest stars in the universe, we try to measure the primordial elements that were forged just minutes after the Big Bang. For hydrogen and helium, the actual amounts perfectly match our mathematical predictions. But there's a glaring, massive problem with an element called lithium-7. The oldest stars are mysteriously missing 2/3 of the lithium they should mathematically possess. If the foundation of a building is missing 1/3 of its concrete, the whole structure is compromised, right? Because this single element fails to match our math, it proves our fundamental model of how the universe was born is deeply, fundamentally flawed. Part 3. The impossible marriage, relativity versus quantum mechanics. So we now arrive at the two most successful intellectual achievements in human history, Einstein's general relativity and quantum mechanics. General relativity is the highly predictable math of the unimaginably massive, things like galaxies and gravity. Quantum mechanics, on the other hand, is the chaotic, probabilistic math of the incredibly tiny, like atoms and electrons. Normally, these two mathematical frameworks just stay in their own separate lanes, but there's a nightmare hiding in plain sight. If you look at the crushing center of a black hole, you find something that is unimaginably massive, but compressed into an incredibly tiny space. This forces the two theories to overlap, and when they do, the equations instantly self-destruct into pure gibberish. The universe operates on a single truth, yet our best mathematical descriptions of it absolutely hate each other. Part 4. The missing phantoms, microscopic contradictions. When we descend further down into the quantum realm, the terror only grows. The absolute rules of our mathematics demand the existence of things that completely refuse to show themselves in reality. Essentially, our equations are writing checks that the physical universe just refuses to cash. Take magnetic monopoles, for example. The math firmly dictates that isolated magnetic north poles, magnets without a south pole, must exist somewhere out there. Yet in the entire history of physics, we have never found a single one. Then there's the strong nuclear force, which binds the center of atoms together. To make the math work without breaking symmetry, physicists had to invent a theoretical ghost particle called an axion. Millions of dollars are spent hunting for it, but the axion remains entirely missing. Finally, our grand unified theories predict that protons, the very building blocks of matter, must eventually decay and die. But in a massive underground tank of ultra-pure water in Japan, scientists have waited decades to see just one single proton decay. They've observed absolutely nothing, proving that the protons are essentially immortal and our models are entirely wrong. Then there's the mystery of neutrinos, which are trillions of ghost particles passing right through your body at this exact second. For decades, the standard model of physics firmly and confidently stated that these particles were completely massless. We built our entire understanding of subatomic physics around this supposedly undeniable fact. But in 1998, scientists made a horrifying discovery. They realized that neutrinos actually shapeshift into different variations or flavors as they travel from the sun to the Earth. If a particle can shapeshift, it means it experiences the passage of time. And according to the laws of relativity, if something experiences time, it absolutely must have mass. So our flawless standard model was completely broken by particles that weigh almost nothing. Part 5. The Observer's Curse, Quantum Measurement. Let's cross the line from physical errors into pure psychological horror. This is the quantum measurement problem, and it calls into question the very fabric of everything you think is real. It begins with the famous double-slit experiment, where scientists shoot individual subatomic particles at a wall with two tiny slits in it. When the particle is completely unobserved, it doesn't act like a solid object. Instead, it exists in a blurry haze of probability, mathematically passing through both slits everywhere and nowhere at the exact same time. But the exact moment a scientist places a detector next to the slits just to watch it pass, the wave function violently collapses. The particle abandons its ghostly wave-like nature and acts just like a solid physical bullet. It literally changes its behavior simply because you looked at it. How does a mindless subatomic particle know that it's being watched? Does human consciousness actually alter the fundamental fabric of reality? This question terrifies physicists so deeply that they sought a mathematical escape route. That escape route is the deeply unsettling many worlds interpretation. To avoid the idea that human minds control matter, some physicists propose that every single time a quantum measurement occurs, reality itself literally splits into infinite parallel dimensions. They would rather believe that infinite invisible universes are being created every single second than admit that our observation forces reality to exist. Part 6. The Final Illusion. Unreasonable Perfection. This brings us to the grand finale of cosmic terrors. When you peel back the layers of our existence, you find a hidden control panel of fundamental constants that govern reality. This is known as the fine-tuning problem, and it's the most haunting mystery of all. Look at the terrifying precision required for our universe to even exist. The strong nuclear force holds atoms together, right? Well, if it were just 2% stronger, hydrogen would never have formed, and there would be no water, no stars, and no life. Then consider the cosmological constant, which measures the dark energy of empty space. If this number were larger by just one single part in 10 to the 120th power, the universe would have violently ripped itself apart before a single galaxy could even form. Just imagine balancing a pencil on its microscopic tip, and then balancing a billion more pencils right on top of that. That is the level of absurd precision we are dealing with here. There is absolutely no underlying theoretical reason for these numbers to be perfectly set exactly where they are. We are living inside a razor-thin margin of mathematical improbability, and this terrifying perfection offers zero scientific comfort. It leaves us with only two horrifying options to explain our existence. The first is that we're an absurd, impossible statistical accident born in an infinite, chaotic multiverse where trillions of other universes are just dead and empty. The second option is even worse. It suggests that the numbers are perfect because our reality is a deliberately engineered simulation, carefully programmed by something entirely beyond our comprehension. If the mathematical rules governing our universe are perfectly rigged for our survival, yet completely broken when we look closely at them, who or what is keeping the illusion alive?